Welcome back, Matt. I just want to ask about some of Prime Minister Netanyahu's comments from last week. I'm aware that they've evolved, and Secretary has also laid out a vision on what Washington thinks about the future of Gaza. But where we are, it does look like there is a disagreement with Netanyahu and U.S. on the future of Gaza. U.S. doesn't want any reoccupation, and while Netanyahu has clarified some of his comments and has made different comments, it does sound like Israel does want like a security force and with an indefinite period of time. So I'm just wondering what the U.S. thinking on that is. How are you negotiating with the Israelis on that, and how's that going?
So I will say that, yes, as a first item, he has clarified some of his remarks. Yeah. But you're right, he has made comments that are different from the vision that Secretary Blinken laid out, both when we were in the region and then in a speech that he gave in Tokyo last week. Let me just reiterate, I know you know them, but just for the record, the principles that the Secretary laid out, which is that, number one, at the end of this conflict, there can be no forcible displacement of Palestinians from Gaza. It can't happen now while the conflict's happening. It can't happen at the end of the conflict. Number two, there can be no continued use of Gaza as a platform for terrorism or other violent attacks, as we saw it used on October 7th. Number three, no reoccupation of Gaza after the conflict. And number four, no reduction in the territory of Gaza. Those are the principles that we believe in, and when we start to have conversations with people in the region about what the future of Gaza looks like, those are the principles we're going to lay out that we want to see adhered to. And I would add to that, central in the question of what happens in Gaza must be Palestinian voices who have a right to have a voice in their own future. So we will keep making that clear. We'll make that clear directly in conversations with Prime Minister Netanyahu and other leaders of the government of Israel, as we have publicly.
And you just said like no forcible displacement, but we're seeing people from North Gaza moving to South Gaza because of, what kind of assurance, if any, is the United States getting from Israelis that those people will be able to move back?
So they have said publicly that they expect those people to be able to move back at the end of the conflict. When we say no forcible displacement, there is a difference between people moving out of harm's way, which we fully support. We want to see people move out of harm's way so they avoid being harmed by Israel's military campaign. Move out of harm's way inside Gaza and being forcibly expelled from Gaza, which we very much oppose. So Israel has said publicly they expect people to be able to return to their homes, to return to their neighborhoods at the end of the conflict.
Can I quickly go to hostages? There has been different reports about different kinds of proposals. To the extent that you can share, what is the latest? Do you have some sort of renewed optimism that there could be some progress on that this week, perhaps?
So on the first question, I'm going to stick to the rule that I've adhered to and that Secretary Blinken has adhered to pretty rigorously, which is we're not going to talk at all about either the substance or the status of negotiations to secure the release of hostages, including the American citizens who we know remain held hostage. It continues to be a top priority for us. Secretary Blinken had a call with his Qatari counterpart over the weekend about this. There are others in the government engaged on this, including, of course, the president himself. So in terms of the prospects, it continues to be a top priority. But again, we're dealing with a brutal, violent terrorist organization who's holding them hostage. And I don't think I want to put any kind of percentage on assessing what they may or may not do.
I just, when you talk about there's no forcible displacement, is that what you're saying?
Yeah, from Gaza. From Gaza. Again, I just made the point. We understand
that. So the Israelis saying basically leave the north and go to the south, or you're basically probably going to get killed. That is no forcible displacement from Gaza. You're talking about.
I'm talking about outside of Gaza, from Gaza out to Egypt or another third country. Yes.
Okay, so you're okay with like all of the hundreds of thousands of people who are in the north of Gaza all being.
I would say we support people inside Gaza being moved out of harm's way. Absolutely.
Okay, and then when this is over, you say they're going to get to return?
Israel has said that publicly.
Yeah, to what? You said to their homes and to their neighborhoods.
So I will say that
do their homes and do those homes and neighborhoods still exist?
If you saw this, I know you did see because you were there. If you saw what the secretary said, when we were in Tokyo, he said there must be a sustained mechanism for reconstruction in Gaza. Obviously, a lot of those homes have been destroyed, and there has to be a mechanism to rebuild Gaza, including those neighborhoods and those homes that have been destroyed, so people can return to where they lived.
Yeah, but saying, oh, well, once this is all over, you can go back home. But there isn't anything that's going to be left for them to go back to.
Yeah, obviously, Gaza is the location of an intense military campaign. When it's over, we want to see reconstruction of Gaza.
All right, but paid for by?
We will have conversations with partners in the region about that very question.
I
think it's a little too early to say. We're in the middle of the conflict right now. We're just having conversations.
But it is not just as easy as saying, oh, okay, well, you're being told to move south for your own protection, but after that threat is over, then you can go back when you have nothing to go back to, and no one is going to be stepping up to pay for the reconstruction.
Nothing about this process. None of the issues in this process are easy, and I did not say they were easy. All of this is difficult. Every one of these principles we laid out will be the subject of intense diplomacy. And none of this, I think everyone that's been paying attention to the issues we've been grappling with and that Israel's been grappling with and that countries in the region are grappling with, no one would tell you that any of these are anything but very, very difficult.
Okay.